Welcome to the Deep Dive. This week, we're cutting through the noise and diving deep into a stack of insights from a fantastic source, the 5K runner.
That's right.
You know, them that triathlete, runner, and gym enthusiast with a really sharp eye for sleep, wellness, health span, and, well, getting faster.
Absolutely. And our mission today really is to distill the latest and most impactful takeaways from their recent dispatches.
Okay.
We'll be exploring everything from, cutting-edge sports tech and new health monitoring solutions to some genuinely surprising findings about practices like fasting.
Right.
So if you're looking for that kind of practical shortcut to understanding the tools and knowledge that can really elevate your training and daily life, well, you've come to the right place.
Okay, let's get into it then. We have a lot of ground to cover, starting with some pretty innovative tech designed to help you beat the heat. First up, let's talk about staying cool when your body starts to, really heat up. We're looking at the GreenTag Core 2 body temperature sensor. It came out late March 2025.
Yeah.
And it promises to help serious athletes, runners, triathletes, cyclists optimize performance.
What's truly intriguing here, I think, is how this non-invasive device monitors your real-time core body temperature, not just skin temp.
Okay.
That gives you much deeper insight into your physiological state. The 5K runner's review really highlights how precise this monitoring is supposed to be.
How precise are we talking?
They claim medical-grade accuracy of 0.21 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
Which, that level of precision means you can hopefully trust the data to fine-tune your heat training zones.
So how does it actually work? What does it tell you?
Well, the Core 2 tracks that core body temperature and skin temperature, too. And then it crunches those numbers into metrics like the heat strain index, or HSI.
HSI, right.
Which basically indicates how much physiological stress your body is under due to heat. It also defines heat zones and calculates your heat training load, HTL.
And all that feeds into something called HASH.
Exactly. Your heat adaptation score, or HADAS.
Okay, so this raises the question, why bother with heat training anyway? Is it just for competing in hot conditions?
That's a great question. The review underscores these really well-documented physiological benefits. Things like boosting hemoglobin mass,
Okay.
increasing VO2 max, improving lactate threshold, enhancing power output, and even expanding blood plasma volume.
So quite a lot then.
Yeah, essentially these adaptations lead to improved performance in any temperature condition, not just hot ones.
Interesting. So it's not just about surviving the heat.
Not at all. And the sweet spot for effective heat training, according to Core 2, is Heat Zone 3. That's an HSI between 3.0 and 6.9.
And how long do you need to stay in that zone?
Ideally, about 45 to 60 minutes per session.
Right. Now, here's where the 5K runner's personal experience gets really interesting. They used it, right?
They did.
Yeah.
And despite putting in lots of outdoor cycling hours during a hot UK summer,
Yeah.
their heat adaptation score didn't significantly increase.
Really? Why not?
It suggests cycling, maybe because of the cooling airflow, might not be as effective for accumulating that heat stress as you'd think. Running outdoors, on the other hand, proved much more productive for heat adaptation in their experience.
Okay, that makes sense. Less airflow.
Exactly. And surprisingly, maybe uncomfortably, indoor heat training with thick clothing actually worked.
Right. Like old school methods.
Yeah, and passive heat training too, like in a sauna. You have to log that manually in the app. The device itself won't work in there, but the principle stands.
So it's a good example of how these easy gains they talk about still require, deliberate effort and the right kind of effort.
Absolutely. Commitment and the right approach. The reviewer did see their Garmin VO2 max go up by 2 points. But they couldn't definitively say it was just the heat training, given their overall training.
Sure. Always hard to isolate one variable.
Exactly. But for anyone considering it, improving your HADAS, that score, takes about 10 to 14 sessions, usually over 2 to 12 weeks.
Aiming for that 45, 80 minutes in zone 3 each time.
Right. And once you're adapted, you need maintenance, maybe 1 to 3 sessions a week. Otherwise, your HS can start to drop off within 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, good to know. Persistence pays off. All right, shifting gears now, quite literally. Let's talk mountain biking. Garmin's unveiled a new Edge MTB.
Yes. This is a surprisingly focused move from Garmin, and probably a welcome one for mountain bikers.
What makes it so focused?
Well, the headline features are genuinely new for a Garmin device. We're talking 5 Hz GPS recording and dedicated timing gates.
5 hertz recording, what does that mean?
5 GPS points per second, but only when you're descending in the enduro or downhill profiles.
Ah, so super detailed tracking on the way down.
Exactly. Gives you incredibly precise data on the lines you took, peak speeds, that kind of thing.
And timing gates,
That's also novel. You can manually set up to 10 gates on a course.
like virtual checkpoints.
Pretty much. To track your split times and overall lap time, it gives you real-time feedback. Are you ahead or behind your target?
That sounds really useful for practice runs.
Definitely. And the 5K runner speculates these features, while aimed at downhill MTB now, could eventually trickle down to other edge units, maybe even watches for skiing or triathlon.
Interesting potential. What else is new about the unit itself?
Well, it's built tough. Rugged, rubberized shell, Gorilla Glass, and importantly, it's buttons only.
Good for muddy gloves.
Exactly. No fiddling with touchscreens. It also has new mounting options, like a top tube mount. And it still includes the usual MTB dynamics, jump count, distance, hang time, plus grit and flow for trail difficulty and smoothness.
Okay, sounds pretty comprehensive for MTP. What's the catch? Is it pricey?
Well, the 5K runner notes it's not exactly cheap for what's positioned as a smaller edge unit. It's $399. And Garmin deliberately left out some features from other edges, things like power guide, training status, even Wi-Fi workout uploads.
Why would they do that?
The thinking, according to the review, is that this laser focus makes it a truly dedicated tool. By stripping away features irrelevant to core downhill enduro riding, they make it simpler and more effective for that specific purpose.
All right, less clutter, more focus. Makes sense for a dedicated device.
Yeah. So while the omissions might seem odd at first, it actually reinforces its role as a specific tool for serious MTB riders.
Okay, so speaking of Garmin Edge, there's also news about updates for existing models.
Yes. Hot on the heels of the Edge MTB announcement, Garmin is also pushing out significant firmware updates. These are for the popular Edge 540, 840, 1040, and probably the 1050 models too.
Great news for current owners then. Keeps their devices fresh.
Exactly. It shows Garmin's commitment to supporting their existing lineup, which is always good to see.
So what's included in these updates? Anything major?
Well, they're adding those fork sight enhancements from the Edge MTD. That gives you more data about upcoming trail options at junctions.
Yes. Better navigation on the trails.
Precisely. Plus, something many users have apparently asked for, the ability to finally toggle the virtual partner off when following a course.
Oh, I could see why people wanted that. Sometimes you just want to ride the course without the ghost.
Exactly. And from a multi-sport perspective, there's a crucial addition: support for viewing adaptive training plans for triathlons.
Meaning
Meaning the workouts generated by those specific triathlon plans can now be executed directly on your Edge device. Much smoother integration for cyclists doing structured training.
that's a big plus for triathletes using Garmin.
Definitely. And then there are performance boosts, faster satellite lock, improved connectivity, plus a bunch of bug fixes for things like radar display issues, workout data fields, route recalculation problems, the usual cleanup.
So a pretty solid update all around.
Seems like it.
Now, sticking with Garmin, the 5K runner also dipped into some speculation. Is a Garmin Enduro 4 on the horizon?
Yeah, this is interesting. It's speculation, but it's based on Garmin rolling out new features specifically for ultra running.
And the thinking is, new features often mean a new watch is coming.
Historically, yes.
Yeah.
New software capabilities often debut alongside new hardware.
Right. And the Enduro line, that's always been about massive battery life, hasn't it?
Exactly. Uber battery life, usually with an MIP display, solar charging, and typically in a super large case. The Enduro 2 was based on the Fenix 7X, the Enduro 3 on the Fenix 8.
So what's the speculation this time? Just an Enduro 4 based on a Phoenix 9.
Well, that's part of it. But the interesting angle the 5K runner raises is the potential for Garmin to expand the Enduro range, maybe with smaller sizes.
Ah, because not everyone wants a huge watch, even if they want long battery life.
Precisely. The speculation is that these new ultra-running features, combined with that user desire for smaller, long battery watches, could hint at maybe a smaller Enduro 3 variant, or perhaps even something like a Forerunner 975, but with the MIP display for that battery boost.
So Garmin might be rethinking the Uber battery means massive watch equation.
Possibly. It's not confirmed, of course, just reading the tea leaves, but it suggests they might be looking to offer more diverse options for the ultra-endurance crowd.
Okay, interesting to keep an eye on. Now let's talk about features that are coming specifically for the Fenix 8 generation. Major beta update.
Yes, a big one. This affects the Fenix 8, Fenix E, Tactix 8, and Enduro 3. It's described as a significant quarterly update.
And it includes some genuinely new features, not just tweaks.
Definitely. There are some things highlighted that aren't even in the beta yet, but are expected soon. A suite of ultra-running features, for instance.
Like what?
Things like cutoff times, dedicated rest breaks tracking within an activity, and course point notes, all aimed at better managing those long, complex events.
Tools for the ultra crowd again. Makes sense with the enduro speculation.
Right. And for the broader user base, Garmin seems to be pushing for deeper links with both Apple Health and Google Health Connect.
Better data sharing.
Potentially, yeah. And also maybe integration with Google Maps, which could finally bring proper point of interest support into the Garmin ecosystem natively.
That'd be handy. What about the features actually in the beta now?
Some cool stuff there, too. A new calculator app, believe it or not, with a tip splitter function.
Huh. Okay. Random, but potentially useful.
Custom focus modes, too, letting you control settings like screen brightness and satellite accuracy more easily for different situations. Plus, enhanced morning and evening reports.
And for athletes.
The new triathlon adaptive training plan support we mentioned for the Edge is also coming to these watches. Big deal for multi-sport folks.
And for runners specifically, this sounds like a big update for them.
Huge. There are new running dynamics metrics coming. Impact load, which quantifies the effects of downhill running.
Okay, that sounds useful for injury prevention.
Possibly. Then there's running tolerance, which models that load and suggests safe ranges. And running economy.
Running economy. I thought that was hard to measure accurately.
It requires the newer HRM 600 chest strap, apparently. But some consider running economy even more critical for performance than VO2 max. It's about how efficiently you use oxygen at a given pace.
Wow, okay. So Garmin is really pushing the data analysis side.
Continuously. Providing really rich, data-driven insights. However...
There's always a however with Garmin features, isn't there?
Well, the 5K runner does point out Garmin's typical tactics. These shiny new features are primarily rolling out to the newest generation watches.
Encouraging upgrades from older models like the Fenix 7.
That certainly seems to be the strategy. Keeps the upgrade cycle moving.
Right. So we've covered a lot on performance tracking. But what about the other side of the coin recovery? Garmin's got something new there too, right? The index sleep monitor.
Yes, exactly. Moving from intense training to crucial recovery. Garmin has just launched this new device in the wellness space.
And what is it exactly? A watch replacement for sleep.
It's a lightweight smart band designed to be worn on the upper arm. And yes, it fills a definite gap in Garmin's product range.
A gap for people who don't like wearing watches to bed.
Exactly that. Or for people who maybe primarily use a Garmin bike computer like an Edge and don't wear a watch daily, so they miss out on sleep metrics.
Makes sense. So what's new here? What does it track?
Its main goal is a comprehensive view of sleep, fitness, and recovery. It gives you a sleep score, tracks sleep stages, continuous heart rate.
Standard stuff.
But also, crucially, heart rate variability, HRV, which, as you know, is a key indicator of recovery and stress.
Right. HRV is huge now. What else?
Breathing variations, blood oxygen saturation, SpO2, and interestingly, skin temperature changes.
Skin temp. What can that tell you?
It can offer insights into recent activity, your sleep environment, potential illness coming on, and even cycles for women's health.
Okay, quite a lot packed into an armband. Is it comfortable?
It's designed for comfort, apparently. Made from a breathable fabric band that's machine washable.
Washable is good. Battery life.
Up to 7 nights, even with SpO2 tracking enabled.
Pretty decent. And it syncs with Garmin Connect, obviously.
Critically, yes. It seamlessly syncs data to the app, and importantly, it updates those key advanced metrics like training readiness, recovery time, and your overall HRV status, so it feeds into the whole Garmin ecosystem.
What's interesting, though, is how they're positioning it. It overlaps with Whoop on sleep features, but Garmin isn't calling it a sports tracker, right?
Exactly. The 5K runner points this out. Garmin has explicitly chosen not to position the index sleep as a sports HR tracker during workouts. It's purely a dedicated sleep and recovery device.
Which is interesting timing because Polar just announced
their own direct Whoop competitor. Yes, the timing is notable. The 204/7 wearable landscape is definitely heating up.
So Polar's jumping into the screen-free wearable game.
They are. They announced it will launch on September 3rd, a direct Whoop competitor.
And what's the big news here? How will it differ?
Here's the kicker. According to the 5K runner, unlike Whoop, Polar's new screen-free wrist wearable will not be subscription-based.
Wow. That's huge. A one-time purchase.
That seems to be the plan. It's designed as a passive data collector, sleep, activity, health, fitness with no notifications, just tracking. And it's likely to feature Polar's new Elixir sensor tech.
Bowler has a strong background in HR monitoring, don't they?
A very deep legacy in sports science and heart rate accuracy. Their existing app, Polar Flow, is already really robust.
What does Flow offer now that might compete with Whoop?
Comprehensive activity tracking, their Training Load Pro feature for assessing strain, and advanced sleep and recovery insights via Sleep Plus stages and nightly recharge.
So they have the science. Where does Whoop maybe have an edge?
Whoop arguably excels in the app aesthetics, the slickness of the interface, and maybe that AI-driven coaching aspect. Polar, on the other hand, traditionally offers more robust workout support within Flow, over 100 sport modes, adaptive training plans, etc.
So this new Polar device,
Yeah.
no screen, no subscription. Who's it for?
Well, this is Polar's first screen-free wrist wearable, and that non-subscription model is a massive differentiator. The 5K runner speculates that Whoop might keep its hold on the higher-end, maybe more lifestyle-focused market,
Right.
but Polar could grab a significant chunk of the more price-sensitive market, especially in Europe, where Polar has a really strong existing customer base.
It really connects to that bigger picture of information overload, doesn't it?
Absolutely. As more players enter the space, the real value isn't just collecting data, it's how that data is interpreted and presented back to you in a way that helps you make actual decisions without getting buried in numbers.
Making the data actionable, not just interesting.
Precisely.
Okay, let's switch gears again. Back to cycling, but more the business side. Stages cycling. They went bankrupt, but they're back.
Yeah, this is a sort of resilience story with a strategic twist. Stages Cycling's parent company filed for bankruptcy back in June 2024.
I remember that. A lot of their debt was owed to Giant, the bike manufacturer, wasn't it?
Exactly. And Giant subsequently acquired Stages assets, their power meters, indoor bikes, bike computers, the whole lot.
So Giant bought them out of bankruptcy. What's the latest update?
Just 2 days ago, June 24th, 2025, Giant officially relaunched the Stages cycling brand.
They're back in business. What are they selling initially?
Their initial focus seems to be squarely on the crank arm-based power meter lineup. They're updating them for compatibility with modern Shimano cranksets.
Good news for cyclists who liked Stages power meters.
Definitely. And the interesting strategic angle here, as the 5K runner suggests, is what Giant might do next.
Like what? Put Stages power meters on Giant bikes from the factory?
That's the strong suggestion. Integrate Stages tech into their own bikes, offering pre-installed accessories. That increases the value for the bike buyer and simplifies things.
Makes sense for Giant.
Yeah.
But what about the other stuff Giant acquired? The Stages bike computers, for example.
That's the big question. Giant owns them now, but there's zero confirmation on whether they'll restart production. The article suggests those computers would need a, quote, complete overhaul to really compete with Garmin and Wahoo today.
Yeah, that market moves fast. Still, the Stages brand is strong, isn't it? Used in the Pro Peloton and all that.
It definitely has brand recognition and credibility, so its return, even if it's initially just the power meters, is a notable development for cyclists. Now, for the real tech heads, the 5K runner also do a deep dive into the sensor tech inside WHO bands, comparing the 4.0 and 5.0.
Ah, getting into the nitty-gritty. What do they find? Are they different under the hood? They look the same from the outside.
That's the key point. They look identical on the underside where the sensors are, but the internal electronics actually different.
Really? So the 5.0 isn't just a software update on the same hardware?
Apparently not entirely. The WHUOP 5.0 features an enhanced PPG sensor that's the optical heart rate sensor.
Enhanced how?
It boasts an increased sampling rate, around 26 Hz compared to lower rates previously.
Meaning it's taking readings more frequently.
Exactly. More snapshots of your blood flow per second. This allows for more precise tracking of physiological metrics and, crucially, improved signal clarity. The review strongly suggests this points to upgraded hardware, or at least firmware enabling that higher frequency tracking.
Okay, so a genuine internal upgrade. What about the WHEO PMG, the one with ECG?
Internally, it's described as essentially identical to the 5.0, except for the addition of a specific circuit board just for that ECG feature.
Got it. So subtle but significant hardware evolution happening even when the outside looks the same. Speaks to how this tech is constantly improving.
Constantly, yeah. Often in ways you can't immediately see.
All right, to wrap up our deep dive into the latest from the 5K runner, let's switch focus one last time to something a lot of people are curious about: intermittent fasting and fat burn.
Yes. And this article tackles a common assumption head-on. The idea that when fasting, longer is always better for burning fat.
Right. That seems to be the general advice often, like push for 16, 18, even 24 hours.
But this piece raises an important question. What's the optimal fasting duration for you? It introduces the concept of a metabolic sweet spot for fat burning.
A sweet spot, meaning there's a point of diminishing returns or even negative effects.
Exactly, a point where your body is most efficiently using fat for fuel. And crucially, this sweet spot isn't fixed. It can change daily based on your diet, your sleep, stress levels, lots of factors.
And fasting beyond that sweet spot.
Especially past 24 hours without getting enough protein could actually lead to muscle loss, which most people want to avoid.
Okay, so how do you find this sweet spot? What did the 5K runner learn?
They drew insights from Lumen, that health tech company with the breathalyzer device.
Right, the one that measures if you're burning carbs or fat.
Yeah. Lumen's data suggests most people reach their peak fat burns somewhere between 12 and 18 hours into a fast.
12 to 18 hours, what's the average?
The average seems to be around 13 hours. And this aligns pretty well with broader scientific studies, too.
Interesting. So not necessarily 16 or 18 hours for everyone?
Not necessarily. The data also showed some individual differences. People with a healthy BMI might hit peak fat burn a bit sooner, and men tend to have slightly higher fat oxidation rates than women, on average.
So this really challenges those rigid protocols like always doing 16.8 or 18.6 fasting.
It does. It suggests a more personalized approach might be better. Tools like Lumen, by analyzing the Q-euro in your breath, aim to help with that personalization.
How? By telling you when you've hit peak fat burn.
Essentially, yes. By showing you when your body shifts away from primarily burning fat and starts relying more on carbs again, that shift could be your signal.
A signal that it might be time to break the fast.
Exactly. Especially if your goal is maximizing fat use while preserving muscle. It's about knowing when extending the fast might become less beneficial or even detrimental to muscle mass.
So the key takeaway is personalization is key. Fast, smarter, not just longer.
That's the clear message. Focus on metabolic health, find your optimal window, and prioritize preserving muscle. It's about using data, if possible, to listen to your body rather than just sticking to an arbitrary time schedule.
What an incredibly insightful deep dive, covering everything from, core temperature sensors to the nitty-gritty of fasting metabolism. These stories from the 5K runner really do give us that shortcut to being well-informed.
It's fascinating, isn't it? If you connect all these dots, you see this clear trend. Our ability to gather and actually interpret highly personalized data about our own bodies is just exploding.
Moving beyond generic advice.
Exactly. It empowers us to craft truly customized strategies for training, for recovery, for overall well-being, based on our own individual physiology.
Absolutely. And it really leaves you with a provocative thought, doesn't it? As these technologies get even more accessible, more integrated into our lives, how is our relationship with our own bodies and all this data they produce going to keep evolving?
What new insights are just around the corner? What will we unlock next that completely changes how we think about performance or health?
We'll definitely be here to unpack it all for you when it happens. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Until next time, stay curious.